Good morning. Today is the 29th of August 2024 and I'm going to go through my trade plan and levels for today. As always, before we start, let's look and see what could move the market. We had jobless claims and GDP coming at 8:30 and the market is in a neutral, didn't really do much, just kind of where it is, where it started. We do have news at 10, home sales, and we have a Fed speaker at 3:30. Potentially they can move the market, so just be wary. So let's just go over some levels and then we'll look at the order flow and then get ready to trade. So on my screen we're looking at the 1 hour time frame for the S&P 500 E-mini futures, and yesterday we had this big move down, which is nice. I did a great trade. I was watching the break and retest of the pre-market low, that area there. That's my trade. Yes, I got in there. I think I may have been a little bit early, but I did stop out on YM yesterday. I took the break and retest of YM, and that was a stop out. It did work in the end, but I was in a bit too early. You know, the trade was right, but the timing was wrong, and so I was down by 1 hour yesterday on taking YM, and that's the Dow Jones. And then my next trade, my only trade, was this one, where I waited, I saw it retest the VWAP a couple of times, and then it broke the low once, broke the low twice. When it came back up to retest the VWAP, I got in on the third attempt, it broke down, and then I held it pretty much down to about, I think I held it down to there. It was quite a big risk to reward, and I managed to get 5R out of it in the end. In fact, my 3R was about there and my 5R was about there, so that's where it was. It's just below that pivot, because I wasn't sure whether we were going to break below that area or not. So that's a decent trade. I had my stop above that pivot and my entry was about there, and I think that was 3R for that stage, and that's another 2R for that one. So I took 3R on 50% and 2R on the other 50%, which is good. I meant 5R on the other 50%. So that's a decent trade yesterday, and I'm watching similar areas today. This is an area, key area 5636, which we had last time we were up in that area. I had this big reaction down, and potentially watching this region 5636 down to 5640. Let's just check my trade plan. I always like to write it down before I start, which I don't have in front of me. That's fine. 5650 to 5640 is the area I've got, which I'm watching for. 5650, this area here, 5650 to 5640. So this region. Oh yeah, I've actually put the level up there. So this is like the hourly resistance. You can see we broke through. We kind of held it over here last week. Kind of hovered around that area. You can see tops of candles, bottoms of candles. Couldn't quite hold above it, and again, and we finally did. Came back, retested it, came back up, got close to it, Then we couldn't break it. We held it, and we held it, put in that double top. And if you remember yesterday, I said I'm watching for a potential double top in that area. I missed that bit, but that's in the pre-market, but I've got that bit there. So I'm watching something similar. I'm watching it to come back up to 5650, but I consider this entire region for a short, and I'll be looking for a break of trend. I want to see it break, come back, retest that area, and then look for the rejection. So that's how I'm going to play that, and I know it's a big zone to watch in, but it's the only area I can see for rejection. If we get above this area 5650, then I might try and look for trend continuation, but we've got to be above that area. We've got the point of control and lots of volume in this region as well, so we've got to break out above that area. This is a big area for volume. As for bounces, so I'm looking for, I'll come back to that level in a minute, 5621, because I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm watching for a bounce down in this region as well, this region here, and that's around 5570 down to 5560, this region. So that's a bounce area I'm watching. You know, we had that allocated as a bounce area yesterday, and you can see we went straight through it. Had you waited for it to come back up and taken it on the V shape, then it would have been a good trade back up. Like I said, these areas are just areas, so it's an area to watch for. That, and yesterday that was an area to watch for. It's not an actual line in the sand. And if you're waiting for it to come down, then the entry would be wait for it to make the rejection and then potentially look for a pullback. And I think that would have worked okay yesterday. This level here, 56.21, is kind of leftover area of confidence. You can see bottoms of candles and pivots over here, bottoms of candles here. We held it there, we held it there. Even though we held it there, pushed back up, we lost it, came back, and look where we retested it again. So that's a good retest area. So I'm keeping an eye on that. If we break down and come back, then I'll be looking for a rejection. Could I use it as a bounce? Maybe, but if we close, we've got these moving averages of the 200s crossing the 50 right now, and that looking more. If we can break and we hold above all those moving averages, we can watch it for a long, and that's it really. So just a recap, I'm looking for trend continuation long above this area, 56.50. Potentially this is a bounce, a rejection area, all of that area. We can watch for two plays down at 56.21, either the breakout over pre-market high, break and retest, or we can look for the rejection back down, and then we're watching for a bounce in this region, 55.69. Let's quickly look at daily before we move on to the next one. I know it's August volume, so the volume is quite low, but notice how the volume trend line, or the volume is declining while the price is increasing. In volume price analysis, that's a signal that we may be seeing weakness or exhaustion, and we're starting to turn for the rejection. You can probably draw a trend line there as well and watch it break out and above if you want to see the trend continuation. But we are above all the moving averages on the daily, so we are still bullish despite having a few red days, and we're not overbought as well. We were overbought here, and it's a big move down. So there's nothing really saying that it's going to go either direction. So we had Nvidia earnings yesterday, which moved the Nasdaq, and maybe that can also help move the ES a bit as well. So they're both doing the same. I think the ES is leading the Nasdaq right now slightly. Okay, looking at SPY next. SPY, we've got this rejection point over here, that's in the daily again. We've got kind of declining volume, topping tail with rejection, bottom tail rejection, another bottom tail hasn't finished forming, so let's go back to the hourly. Okay, again similar to ES, if we can get over this hourly resistance area, which is kind of one thing I'm not noticing, we could be looking at a head and shoulders pattern right now. Whether that's the right shoulder and this is the break and retest of it, or whether this is the head and we're putting in the right shoulder, that's the left shoulder there. Either way, we're still in this range, and we've got to watch. This is what we're watching for, the breakdown below 555. I did say yesterday, watch for a bounce at 555. We drew this level in, which is area of confidence, and look what happened. It came right into it yesterday, almost to the dot, to the penny, and it would have been a great move up. So watching 555 again today, and we can watch for the breakdown below pre-market low, so break and retest to fill that gap. And then if we get above yesterday's high, pre-market high, we can look for the break and retest long, although we do have a little bit of volume up there, and we are currently below the point of control, so we do need to close above that area just to consider the breakout. And that's it. And obviously if we have a bit of a sell-off bounce area, we can watch down here at 553, and if we lose 553, we're watching for the break and retest short. And the reason I like the short down here is if we can come down, break it, retest that area, and then short would be below the 200 moving average, and there's a big void below before we get anywhere near. So probably around where the point of control is, that could be our target. So key area is the lows of yesterday for the breakdown. SPX levels in place. I've look at that level there. We put that level in place yesterday based on the lows of there. So 55.61. I'll only consider a short if SPX is below that level, and again I'll only consider a long if SPX is above 56.40 area. So I don't really want to go long on ES if we're still below that area. NQ, so big aftermarket move based on Nvidia. So we close, where do we close? 4 o'clock, we closed on this candle here, and then we moved down much further, and then obviously we've brought it all back up again, but we're coming right into this area of potential resistance. All of this area from yesterday's high down to pre-market low. Hard to go long, but we have got the point of control. We're not increasing volume coming up. Point of control is up here as well. So again, if we can get over the 19,700 area, we'll be above the 200 moving average. We're going to look for the breakout long. Potentially anywhere in here, we can look for the rejection coming in, break a trend, back down, and that's from pre-market highs. See, I want to say try a break and retest of pre-market high, but again, keep an eye on Nvidia to what Nvidia does. And then we got the bounce down here at 19,121, and level is based on, it's a rough area. We've got a couple pivots, consolidation, high, low, yeah. So keep an eye, this is the next area to watch for a bounce. So look for a double bottom down there. But I do quite like the rejection where we're coming up into that now, but I only like it if Nvidia rejects. You see this big area here, this area up here. So if we come into that region, what is that level? 19,600 down to about 19,538. Then we can watch that area for rejection. QQQ. One thing you can do as well is just draw some trend lines in. So keep an eye on that as well. And you can do that on the other ones we've just been looking at as well. So if we break above it, we can watch that for longs above. Looking below. So again, I quite like the rejection off of that trend line. Same as NASDAQ. I'll go back to ES in a minute and draw the trend line in. So around 473, 474 for the rejection. I quite like the bounce down here at about 465. Let's just mark that up. And then if we get above, if we get above 478 to 480, we can watch that here for trend continuation. But I think trend continuation, if we break above yesterday's high and retest this trend line, look for a long on the pullback. Next up is crude oil. Hasn't done much in the last couple of days. Sold off. Yesterday we just went sideways and we're kind of where we are yesterday. So same levels as yesterday. Watching for the rejection up here at 77.46. Break and retest of the pre-market high. Probably yesterday's high I quite like. We held this bottom. Nice double bottom there. So we look for the break and retest to confirm that. And if we get up into the 70, 78, 88 area, we can look at that area for rejection. And if you remember rightly, zooming out, it's a massive big wedge pattern on the daily. Gold, still looking bullish on the daily. Even though we've gone sideways for a bit, we are putting in this inverse head and shoulders pattern. Depends where you want to see where the shoulder, neck, where the left shoulder is. Could be any of those pivots there. The head, the right shoulder. So I quite like the breakout over 25.61. Okay, we've talked about this for the last few days. We've held it there. So if we can break it, come back and retest, I'll be looking for a long. Let's just put my alert in. That's my alert. So if it breaks it, I'll be waiting for the retest. If we lose this area, 25, 26, then we look for the rejection down, or we can watch it also for a bounce. And then I also quite like the bounce if we come into this trend line down at 2500. I've got another alert down there waiting for us to get down to that area. RTY next. Ooh, it's broken the trend line. It did down here, but look, it's still holding it. So like I said, the trend line is just more of a guide. Treat it as a rough area like that, bit of a zone. I use it as a guide just so you can see where we're going. I do quite like the break and retest of the pre-market high. You can see we've broken that trend. We could potentially wait for it to come back down for a retest and then long, or we have been in this channel for a few days, roughly drawn. We've finally broken out of the channel and most likely to come back down and retest the lows of that channel. So let's keep an eye for a bounce at 2188, or we can watch for the breakout of the pre-market high, and that's around 2217. YM, this is the Dow Jones. Again, looking a bit more bullish than all the others. I quite like this. If we come back down into this region around 41,000, watch for a bounce. Let's make an adjustment to this level. I'm not sure what's that based on. We're not far off from all-time highs. So break and retest the pre-market high looks good. Otherwise, just trying to find the bounce area. Oh, well, I quite like the bounce area around here, and that's based on tops and bottoms of pivots, a bit of confluence, and we've got yesterday's low as well. So bounce at yesterday's low at 40, basically 49.34. This region, and we've got the point of control down there as well. So watch 41,000 for a bounce again, decent area. And then finally Bitcoin. Let's go to the daily. Again, not doing a great deal. We did sell off over the last few days, and we're holding this bottom, this level, and we've had this level in place. Still holding that level as well, 50,000. Sorry, 58,900. No real play at the moment unless we get back down into this region for a long, or we get up here for the break and retest of the channel. So nothing really on Bitcoin, still holding it in okay. And then let's go back to ES and quickly look at the order flow. And just flick over to my order flow screen. And the levels we're watching are watching 56.36 area, so kind of a little bit higher up here for a potential rejection area. Nothing really, we've got some large orders sitting there waiting. We've got this region here, we've got lots of point of controls, so that potentially could be a stop area or an area of higher volume. So these yellow lines show where the highest amount of volume in that bar is. This is a 30-minute filtered. So if we come back down to there, we can look for maybe a bounce. If we lose it, we can use that as a stop as well. I can't see anything obvious, although there is one thing. We've got prices increasing, and we've got cumulative delta decreasing. So that's a bit of a divergence, potentially showing a possible reversal, and if we're going to be reversing, it will probably be because we're coming into hourly levels at 56.36. So let's keep an eye on that. Again, if we break down below that 56.21 we just talked about, 56.21, this area here, this region, then might be interested in taking it for a break and retest low. And that's it. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll be back tomorrow. Remember, it's a holiday weekend, so volume might be a bit lower heading into Monday where the market's closed. So just trade carefully. Thanks for watching.